Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Or if you're new, welcome for the first time. Yes, I am using the little microphone on my hat. I tried to use like the big microphone I had sitting in the corner, and that take sucked. Turns out this has a better recording quality than the big one. So, oh well. Normally on this channel, I talk about writing books, specifically novel series. However, in this video, which is a part 2 follow-up of a previous video, I'm going to be discussing how to find the right artist for you, specifically on the website called Fiverr. But I guess you could apply these rules to other places maybe where you can find artists. So a bit of a backstory. I'm writing a novel series and I needed an artist who I could depend on to draw a whole lot of art. And so I didn't need to just hire someone for like a one-off drawing. I needed effectively a partner, a co-worker that I could work with for a long period of time. And then it ended up being over 2 years, um, giving that artist steady income, uh, trying to bring this whole piece together. If you're trying to find a long-term artist, that's what this video is for. So I discovered a website called Fiverr.com, and it turned out being a great website. I really like it. I highly recommend it. Uh, on Fiverr, people from all around the world, they create accounts, sort of like a social media, and you can talk with each other. And it's also sort of like eBay, but instead of selling items, goods, it sells services. So people can draw, people can create music, people can do voiceover, book edits, draw comics, edit comics, review whatever's, make just all kinds of stuff. It's there's pretty much someone on there for everything that you could need, and so it's really convenient. However, because I'm very passionate about what I'm trying to do with my books, I needed someone who I could depend on. And not only is this a stranger that I would potentially be working with, but a lot of the people, again, it's from around the world. So these are people who are in other countries, they speak other languages, and there's like a language barrier, might be cultural barrier. There's all kinds of stuff that you have to consider doing this. So let me give you a deep dive inside view of how I got my own ball rolling in regards to getting an artist. All right, so when I decided I need to find an artist who can draw the internal illustrations for my novel series, I started looking through different uh, accounts, if you will, different um, profiles of different artists, admiring their different art styles. And I liked a few of them, but I didn't know which one I wanted to pick. Well, I started thinking about, who am I going to reach out to? Some artists had better art styles than others, and some artists had better prices than others. So I decided to hold a bit of a contest, if you will, and I presented three different artists the same image, which is the one on the screen. Now, what you're looking at is a pencil drawing that I personally made. It's a photograph of the drawing on a piece of paper. I sent this digital image to three different artists and I asked them if they would draw or redraw this image in their style. Pretty straightforward, nothing too specific. Just, hey, could you redraw this image in your style? Make it look cool, make it look professional. A few details to highlight here. Um, we have a character who is sitting with legs crossed, arms in his lap. He has a staff laid across his lap. If you look at his eyes, he has three eyes, by the way. He's technically looking away from the camera. He's looking off to the side. He appears to be quite fat or plump, He's got a wide neck. He's got stomach rolls down here. He also has floppy ears and several horns on his head. His clothing is sort of like a monk robe. It's got a sash kind of thing over one shoulder. In the background, there are, it's a wide open view, some mountains, a snow-capped mountain is visible. There's some clouds. If you look carefully, there's actually a sun up here. And there's what looks to be a tree limb extending from a tree that is just out of frame or off camera. So it's a pretty chill image. And I said, hey, redraw this image for me. This is what artist number 1 came back with. Artist number 1 had the cheapest price. It was $20. So just for 20 bucks, he would redraw whatever I asked him to draw. Oh, and specifically, I told all 3 artists that the image had to be black and gray. It was not a colorful image. So artist number 1 was the cheapest. So that's nice. If the artist is cheaper, then I could get more bang for my buck in terms of quantity. I could get even more images. So if I was thinking, hey, I can only get 30 images or, whatever, if this guy's kind of cheap, maybe I could get double. Maybe I could get 60 images or, maybe I could get 90 images, whatever. This artist was also extremely fast. So I messaged him and said, hey, can you do this? And he said, sure. And in like 3 hours, he sent this back to me. And specifically, he did this without me even paying him. I think he was new to the website, so he didn't quite know how it all worked. So he sent this to me, and technically I hadn't paid him. So if I was a bad person, I could have just run off with the artwork. But the point is, he was very fast. Now, in terms of his style of art, it's not bad. I like this image. It's okay. It's pretty faithful to the source material. You've got the character sitting, legs crossed, arms in the lap. There's a staff across the legs, mountains in the background, some clouds, and then you've got the tree limb extending from off frame. It's all good. The character, when you look at the character in detail, he's got the sash over his right shoulder. He's got the flopped over ears, 3 eyes, the many horns. Not looking so bad. However, even though I am a author, I'm also an artist at heart. And so I look at this with a very detail focused lens, or with one, I should say. And there's a couple things that I noticed. One, the face is great. I really love the face in this image. The eyes are not looking off camera, which is fine. In fact, I think this is better, at least for this presentation, because this, I'm going to say, baby-like face really fits this character. This character has an outward presentation of being a very innocent, friendly, charming character. He's just super nice, super righteous, if you will, super just good all around. But ultimately, that's a bit of a facade. He's quite a depressed and guilt-ridden kind of character. He hides a lot of private shame, and so he masks that by looking all friendly and charming. So outwardly, this looks great, just in the face. But as we move away from the face, some things start to bother me. Now, I said that the artist moved very fast. Okay, well, let's look at this staff. This staff looks pretty close to what my staff looked like. Unfortunately, I'm a shitty artist. And My staff, the way I drew it, is not exactly how it's supposed to look. Mine was a sketch to give the artist an idea of what I was wanting. This is a literal type of staff that exists in the world, and I was just trying to make a representation of that thing. This artist literally just put a straight digital line and put a little oval on the end, put a couple of lines. I'm sure he doesn't know what those lines even are, and called it a day. If you look at closer detail, um, this little line is not as long as these other lines. So I don't know what that's supposed to be. In my drawing, this is supposed to represent these three, which are laying together. However, these, as you can see, they're not fully colored in. Now that's okay. Not being colored in can add a bit of a detail. When you look at it from further away, it can create the illusion that there's a shine on the object, but that's not what this artist was going for. This artist was just going very fast. You can see this much more clear if we just shift over to the top left of this image, of this screen. You'll notice right here a couple of anomalies. You can see that the artist has lines bleeding across where they shouldn't. Multiple lines, in fact. That's not good. This artist was so excited about making money, he didn't take the time to make sure his art was worth the money. But to be fair, it was a cheaper artist, so maybe it was. If we zoom out a little further, remember this character is supposed to be kind of fat. And as I'm looking at this body, this kind of looks like a jacked character. Now, he tried to do what I assume are the belly rolls, kind of like in my image, but it just doesn't look real. It's not correct. It doesn't look good. It's he drew a muscular body and then he drew some extra lines and just called it a day. These arms are very toned, very defined. Not exactly the blubbery, jolly, happy-go-lucky guy I'm going for. There's also a bit of a subtle thing here, but it is important. Um, there is a slight proportion issue happening. This arm is not equal to this arm. Look how much longer this portion is than this one. This bicep is much longer. The elbow is coming down much further. It's got a strange angle. So that's a proportional issue like that. It could be something that pops up in much worse scenarios. Now, in my image, I didn't depict the feet, but the feet look great, so credit where credit is due. The character is supposed to be barefoot, so that works. However, if you look around the feet, you'll notice the grass. And the grass is a combination of two, maybe three, if I'm missing something. I think it's just two. Two, basically like templates. This image here and this image here. You take this image and make it the I don't know, the marker of your ink pen or something in the digital thing, and you just start clicking, click, 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 and you just move it around the image, and then you switch it to this one, and then you do it again, click, 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 and every time you click, it just stamps it all across the image. It works, it's an effective technique, but it is a cheaper technique. It's a time-saving, quick remedy. It just little stamps here and there. As for the background, the mountains look fine and all. The sky is, there's a multimedia thing going on with these two images. This is some type of other image that has been layered in. So this is a real sky added onto a cartoon drawing kind of thing. The tree is also a cartoon drawing, but I like this multimedia effect. It's really nice. It works. The tree looks good. Overall, the image is not bad. For the price, it was great and it was super quick. Like I said, this artist was very quick. However, it's important to note that I said, "Hey, can you redraw it?" And the guy said, "Yes." And that was it. Next thing I know, he's presenting me this completed image and said, "All right, there you go, buddy. Let's get some money." And that was it. Now, artist number two presented this version. This was the most expensive artist. So for $90, I got this version of my image. Well, actually, technically, I got a different version, but I'll explain. So for $90, I said the same thing. Hey, this is my image. Can you redraw it in your style? Make it look better. Make it look professional. Bring it to life. And the artist said, sure. Well, I paid the artist and he got to work. And after about 2 days or 3 days, he sent me an image, which was just a sketch of his own, a digital sketch. And he asked me, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think this is a good looking sketch? He was trying to make sure that I, the customer, was happy. He worked hard on the sketch and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Does this work for you? He was willing to reach out and work with me. It wasn't just blindly, all right, this is what the guy wants. Sure. No, he was passionate about the art. He was like, all right, I'm going to make sure this customer is happy. In addition, he took a creative liberty. He kind of asserted his own knowledge, and I very much respected it. This artist here actually was from India. This artist said, hey, how do you like this image? Also, I had to make a change to the clothing. This sash kind of thing, it goes over the left shoulder, or supposed to go over the left shoulder. So I made that adjustment. Is that okay? This is very appreciated by me, the customer. I had an idea in my head. I had this idea. I wanted this image. However, I am not the artist. The artist can see things that I can't. And in his case, he could see things from his own personal experience in that Indian culture. He knows that this is the correct way to wear that sash. And I was like, oh, absolutely. That works perfectly great. So he was asking me for feedback, making sure we're on the same page. And he went out of his way to make a change, but he asked me, hey, I think this would be more correct. What do you think? Do you approve of this change? And I said, yes, it looks great. He was working with me. Now, he didn't draw the feet, but that's okay. I didn't really draw the feet. I kind of buried him in his legs too. So this works just fine. He also added all this beautiful grass and flowers and butterflies. Just perfect. This is exactly the kind of like magical, fantastical scenery that I'm going for. He even added in the leaves. This is an element that is not found in my image. There are no, blades of grass or flowers or butterflies or leaves. This is something that he added, and it looks great. He also changed the tree. He brought the actual tree into the frame and then made the tree, instead of like a dead limb, which slightly out of season here. This is a dead tree, and then you've got a snow-capped mountain. Over here, he put it in like summer or spring. The tree is full of leaves, the grass is vibrant, there's flowers and butterflies, but it's okay. It is a change, but I approved. The background, instead of just a distant ridge of mountains, he made it like rolling mountains, and it works cool. I like it. This art style, I just really, really liked it, and it just works. As for the character himself, remember, this is supposed to be a fatter, blubberier. If that's a word. Um, a more plump. We'll go with that. A more plump character, and he looks great. He doesn't have, you know, ripped delt shoulders. The biceps are not really defined. There's no cuts in the forearm. There's no real definition in the chest. Like, it's all very smoothed out, just like a more fattier character would be. Also, he put the hands in a much more elegant way. It's far more artistic than mine. I kind of just hid the hands deep in the lap, just trying to avoid the extra work to put that in. This artist was like, no, I like drawing, and I'm going to put in the effort and make it look cool. As for the staff, because he's coming from India, he knows what this staff is supposed to look like. Those lines, which when you look on this one, these lines, this artist didn't understand. This guy, he understood the assignment. These are rings. This is a circular loop, and in the circular loop, there are rings. There's 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and they're hanging. It's perfect. Now, he changed the position. Instead of the circle being face on so you can really see the circular shape, it's much more flat, which realistically, the weight distribution, it would lay flat. So it looks more real. It looks more natural. As for the face, it's very fat, saggy ears, multiple horns, 3 eyes. He's not smiling though, but that's okay. Like I said, the character looks happy on the outside, but he does that for the sake of others. In his private life, he's sad and guilty and depressed and all that. And in this image, he is sitting by himself. So since he's all alone and at peace, there's no point in putting on the facade. It actually makes more sense. However, as I said, this is not the image that I got from this artist. The original image, the face looked more monstrous, looked a little more intimidating, almost angry. And I accepted the image, but after the fact, I mentioned it to him. I said, "Yeah, you kind of messed the face up," and he immediately devolved into apologies. And he said, "Let me please tell me what you want. I will fix it for you." He went like the project was over, and this guy went out of his way to go back into this completed image and remold it. I don't have that other image. I got rid of it because I didn't need it. But he came back with this and said, "What do you think of this?" And I was very happy. I was like, "Yes, that's what my character looks like. Perfect." So I was very happy with this. So artist number 1 presented this style for $20, and he got it back to me in about 3 hours or something. Artist 2 presented this style for $90 and really wanted to work with me and really wanted to make sure I was happy, and presented sketches early on to make sure everything was working out. He took creative liberties, all kinds of good stuff. Then I went to artist number 3. Artist number 3 came back with this image. This artist was very much a medium between artists 1 and 2. So as we can see, he remained much more faithful with the mountains in the background, like a rolling ridge off in the far distance. He didn't put much detail in the foreground here. It's just rocks, basic. The tree is just a dead limb as I drew. So that's all matching up pretty nice. As for the central character, the staff looks really good. The clothing has had a variation done to it. It has been modified. It's now longer and covers the knees. It's much more of a big robe kind of thing. kind of like a dress, if you will, but I really like it. It's very nice. This sash over the shoulder, this extra bit here with the big loop, brass, kind of like hoop, I guess. I don't know what it would be. This looks great. I like this extra little detail. He was much more loyal to my design in the sense that he kept it on the character's right shoulder. He kept the feet hidden, but he brought the hands out and put it in a more of an artistic style, similar to this one. However, as you can see, this looks more like hands, and this one looks a bit more like flippers or something. It's not bad. It's fine, but it does lose a bit of its detail. As for the character's physique, again, he's supposed to be kind of fat, kind of clumpy, and in this case, he is a hefty boy, if you will, but you can see there's a lot of definition there. This looks like the physique of like a football lineman who is a fatter person but does a lot of weightlifting. So underneath that fat, there's a lot of big muscles. So in comparison, we have shredded fat and then a fat muscular guy. As for the face, we've got the three eyes. We've got the floppy ears. We've got the mini horns. However, this face, as you can see, looks a lot more serious. This is more in line with the serious kind of monstrous face of artist number 2. But this artist was quite confident in this face. I didn't ask the artist to change it though, but he never questioned really. The other artist did. The other artist was more persistent. He was like, "Hey, how do you like this? Does it work for you?" The other artist kind of pulled my critiques out, whereas this artist was content with my passive, "Oh yeah, it looks pretty good." Now this artist did present a sketch early on. He presented the sketch and said, "Here's basically what I've got. Do you like it? Do you want me to go forward and really finish the image?" And I was like, "Yes." So he did go out of his way to show me that. However, this artist never really asked for permission for anything. He didn't ask any permission for this change or this change. This little extra detail with this kind of cross thing in the center, if you look at my original image, that's not there. It's a nice detail. I really like it. It's cool, but it's not in my original drawing. Now, it's been many years. Maybe I sent him an image of a real one of these, and I was like, "Here's what it could look like." So perhaps that's there. However, the point is there was a lot of subtle changes that I never approved. He just did it and expected me to roll with it. As for the price, this artist was asking $60. So it was $20, $90, $60. So I thought about it for a while, trying to figure out which one I wanted to go with, and I ended up settling on the most expensive one. This is the artist that I liked best. This artist was passionate and was friendly and was curious, but also insightful. He presented his thoughts and opinions, saying, "Hey, I think this would be good." But he then left it up to me to finalize the choice. This artist had no interest in making changes or presenting any opinions. This artist was just a yes man. This artist just listened to whatever I had to say, even if it was ignorant, and just say, "Okay, if that's what you want, I'll draw it, and then there you go. This artist saw what I presented and then privately thought, well, I'd like to make a change, so I'm going to. And he just made changes. These are very subtle but very important things that I think that anyone seeking uh, a partnership with an artist need to understand and consider. You need somebody who you can work with, as like a co-worker. Yes, in a way, this artist is working for me, but it's not a employer versus employee relationship. This is a co-worker relationship. The two of us are trying to work together to make something. And that's how you need to view any artist that you work with. Don't see the artist as your subject. Your artist is your partner in crime, your ally. You have the idea, the image, and it's up to the artist to bring that image out of your head into the real world. If you can draw an image for your artist like this, even if it's not a good image, like this is a pretty bland, crappy, forgettable image, but it's enough so that an artist with skill can turn it into something awesome. If the artist is worth a damn, their goal is to make you happy. And if they don't know what you want, it's hard to do that. They can't actually enter your mind and see what's in there. So you have to do your best to bring it out and show them some idea, some glimpse of your imagination and say, hey, this is basically what I'm wanting. Can you make it cooler? All three artists tried, but only one succeeded, in my opinion. But which artist do you think was the best? Did you like the $20 artist? Did you like the $90 artist? Or did you like the $60 artist? It's also good to know that all three artists, as far as I know, are still on Fiverr. You can find them. Another lesson that I learned while working with these three different artists was balancing the differences between their language. There's a slight language barrier. They were all trying to speak to me in English because that's the only language I know, but their native languages are not English. I don't remember where this artist were, but they were somewhere in like Asia area, like Indonesia, Philippines, something like that. But there was also the adjusting of times because since they're on the other side of the world, I had to deal with a constant battle of when I'm awake and I'm trying to message this person, they're asleep. And then when I finally go to sleep, they're waking up and they're responding to my message. So what normally should be a like 3 or 4 back and forth conversation that should only take 10 minutes at best would end up taking 4 or 5 days because you'd have to wait a day for the response to come back. And sometimes, if the person was using like an English translate thing, like on Google, sometimes it didn't really make sense. And so you had to try to use context clues to figure out what the artist was saying or asking. However, in the end, I was incredibly happy that I worked with this artist. All of my illustrations eventually were completed, and I have no regrets there. This was a uh, great partnership. Once I decided to settle with this artist, I sent him a message and said, "Hey, I need at least 50 images drawn, and I would like you to do it. If you accept this offer, I'm going to be giving you steady work for a long time. If possible, I would like an image every week. So as soon as you finish one image, I will then send you the very next image and we'll just keep it going. His work schedule was like 1 week. So every week he was pumping out a new image. This would give him approximately 7 days to look at the new image, analyze it, figure out the best positioning of everything, and then draw it. In some instances, the drawing that I would present was done pretty much faithful to what I imagined. But in some cases, he really wanted to change the whole positioning of the image. He's like, hey, would this work a little better? I think it would, make it much more exciting because it's like a fight scene or something. And sometimes I would be like, yeah, that actually works. And other times I might have said, no, it doesn't quite work. Or I would look at his sketch and I would think, this composition's not bad, but I think the character should be smaller or something. I think you've got the proportions a little off. And he'd be like, yeah, good call. And he would just roll with it. It worked so great. So when you are looking for your artist, look for a style that you like, look for a price tag that works for you. But then you've also you need to do some test runs. Have this person draw an image or two for you and try to get to know who this person is and what their work ethic is. Do they work fast? Do they work with you? Do they seem interested in your project? Does this seem like someone that you could work with for many months or maybe more than a year? If you need a lot of work, don't just jump into someone's DMs and say, "Hey, I want to give you thousands of dollars and, you know, give you steady work for a year or something." And then they turn out to be terrible, like to work with, because that's just going to shoot yourself in the foot. Be kind, be understanding, be strategic, and be successful. Well, I reckon that's all I got for this video. Normally, my videos involve me walking around outside, just talking about books. So, if you're somebody who wants to, write a novel series, I highly encourage you to check out my other videos. And whether you're a subscriber or not, I hope you have a great day. Stay creative, stay happy, and stay free. Later.